So today I want to talk about a cool app that I built called the Celestial Distance Calculator. Basically, it's a tool that shows you a small patch of the night sky, and you can click on stars and galaxies to view the distance calculations for how far away they are. I was originally inspired by this guy, who does an excellent job of scientifically explaining astronomy concepts. He really gets into the math, and I have learned a ton from him. He delivers it all with no sensationalism, just a pure exploration of the cosmos. So, yeah, he's great. Check him out. But long story short, based on the celestial object and the distance, there are different methods for calculating how far away something is. There's the redshift method, used for distant galaxies, for example, and the parallax method for nearby stars, among a few other calculation methods. I wanted to capture all of that here, but doing the entire night sky would have been a lot, so I just picked a small patch of the sky to display. Back when I first created this app, I originally wrote it in Java. I know, I'm sorry. I was just doing a lot of stuff in Java at the time. I used Swing in particular for this, yet given that Rust has really resonated with me as my favorite programming language lately, I decided to rewrite the whole thing in Rust. I never did love the swing look of this application anyways, as it looked very retro 90s, which I suppose is a vibe, but I wanted it to look more modern this time. And after doing a gig at the start of the year that very heavily championed the use of AI tools, I have been trying to see how to best integrate AI into my personal projects without that whole Jesus take the wheel mentality that seems so pervasive in tech recently. As in, I wanted to still build the app in methodical steps that could be double checked. So before you come after me with your angry pitchforks, I will soon be showing you where discerning eye and actual coding knowledge came in handy. So to start out, I had a few choices for GUIs. eGUI, Iced, Realm 4, or Macro Quad. I went with eGUI because I've built a lot of toy applications with it before, including a Pokédex, funnily enough, so I felt like it was going to be smooth sailing for this. After deciding on that, it was just a matter of running a quick cargo init in the project and configuring the TOML file with the dependencies. From there, I put the main meat and potatoes of the GUI within main RS, and then used a models file to hold the actual implementation of the stars and galaxies. So, a lot less files than how the Java implementation was before. The celestial objects that I chose are just hard coded into the project at the moment, but eventually I want to change this so that it pulls from a NASA API or something to populate those objects. Currently, the data is based on the Simbad astronomical database. But for my very small patch of sky, it looked a little dead with just the big players alone in it. So I implemented this function to generate background stars. I know that small part is not celestially accurate, but it makes the sky look less empty and cool, so I carried that over from the Java version into Rust. And I was pretty happy with the result. So happy, in fact, that I decided to git add -a, git commit -m, and git push to the rewrite and rest branch that I had made. But I had forgotten to update my git ignore to ignore the target directory that has all the rest build artifacts within it, and that can amount to a pretty chunky size. So yeah, no wonder it took a second to push the first time. So then, since this is just a personal project of mine, I wanted to see how OpenCode, specifically Big Pickle, might handle this. Yeah, it basically had an existential crisis and wanted to delete the repo to fix things before I got it back on track. And another thing to be aware of when building with AI is just to be very mindful of your UI. I know for many roles out there, someone might be handing you a Figma mockup or whatever of the app, whatever the app needs to look like. But if you're just out in the wild, wild west coding on your own, you need to make sure you don't end up with some crazy stuff. Take the time to use your UI if you can and see if it's all intuitive. One thing with this project is that there was some non-rendering Unicode characters in the initial Rust version, which made the info cards look ugly. So I had to ensure that that was all fixed as well. Also, be mindful that a lot of the tests written by AI will be sneaky and test how it thinks the application is supposed to work. So please test it yourself to ensure it's really doing what you want it to do and ensure that you don't have some alien weirdness in there. Also, back when I was programming in C, I had it beaten into my head to never ignore warnings. If the compiler is not happy, it's usually for a reason. So, as a finishing touch, I went through and cleaned all of those warnings up. But what were those warnings, you might ask? It was Rust screaming about unused code. So, as a lazy dev workaround, the AI initially wanted to fix this by marking the code as dead code and just call it a day. But that got me wondering if not everything had been correctly ported over from Javaland. So, after double checking all the files, I determined that those lines could indeed be removed, not just marked as dead code, actually removed, and the functionality of the app would be preserved. So yeah, overall, I'd say the rewrite turned out pretty well in the end. As long as I babysit the model, I feel like you can do some good coding with it. And it was a great project to revisit after all this time, and feel free to check it out on GitHub. I have the link in the description. I've always been down for learning new things, so if you have any suggestions, I would appreciate them. Until next time, bye!